Cooked street food style, the flavour of this black pepper beef really comes out from a combination of black pepper, lots of chilli, flash fried, wok hei till its full extent. It's Hong Kong style black pepper beef. This recipe is from my new book, Hong Kong Kitchen, which is out on pre-order now. Hey guys, Jeremy here from School of Wok, London's premier Asian cookery school. Welcome back to Wok Wednesday, and this is a proper Hong Kong street food Dai Pai Dong Wok Wednesday. This black pepper beef and potato dish is really famous in actually one particular place in Hong Kong, a place called Oi Man Sang, which is kind of like an outdoor, full-on, high-octane gas fire kitchen, and they do great wok cooking there. So I'm just sort of chopping up quite large chunks of potato, and you think sort of Chinese food isn't very potato heavy, but this dish I'd say probably has quite a lot of influence from British culture and cuisine. You could use roast potatoes or roast sweet potatoes for this and just kind of freshen the leftovers up. And I'm going to deep fry these in a sec, get them nice and crispy, and they're going to go with this amazing ribeye steak. I've got a red onion. I probably only need about half of this red onion. Just going to cut that into sort of rough cubes or dices, quite large chunks really. Spring onion, everything really quite similar, so rough chop. Once you get to the white, maybe halve it lengthways so it sort of opens up the flavour a bit. And that can go together with the onion. Selection of large chilies, and this is to add a lot of colour to the dish and a bit of the sweetness of the chili. So I'm just going to, again, do it in chunky dices. And all of this is going to go sort of flash fried into the wok together. Can be quite rough and ready. You know, the Dai Pai Dongs, the big licensed street stands in Hong Kong, they are really like quick. It's really, really quick cooking. On the hobs, I wouldn't even call them hobs. They're kind of like these like cauldrons of wok burners that have like 64 different jets of gas coming up. The fire's so strong it could singe your eyebrows off. And they'll cook a stir fry in those places in less than a minute. Obviously at home it might take a little bit longer, but you can follow the same principle. The coriander is just to garnish later, but add flavour too, and so I've got a fair amount there just to throw in at the end. Now the marinade, I'm going to start with a bit of garlic and ginger, finely chopped. When you're at the Dai Pai Dongs or any sort of restaurants in Hong Kong, you've always got a sort of prep side of the kitchen and then the cooking section. And on the prep side, they've got sort of basketfuls of all the veg and trays or little pots of all the pre-prepped base ingredients like your garlic and your ginger, spring onion, all ready to go for the order to come in. So we're following a similar sort of principle here, even when you're cooking at home. Get it all prepped and ready. Finally chop your ginger and garlic together. There's something very satisfying about preparing a delicious stir fry like this, because you all those lovely varied colours, but it does come together quite quickly. This ribeye, great piece of meat. I'm going to go for nice thin slices so I can sear the beef really quickly. It's great to have that little bit of marbling in there, which is why I like ribeye for this. You don't have to worry about cutting it too thin at this point, because you can always give the meat a bit of a bash just to thin it out some more. And I quite like, even with a stir fry, to have it slightly medium or on the undercooked side of things. Now that the meat's prepped, you can carry on with the marinade. Got a pinch of salt and sugar, We use sugar in our marinades because we believe that everything we cook has its own sweetness, so you try and accentuate that sweetness somewhat. White pepper, that's going to go really well with the black pepper sauce. Sesame oil. And some corn flour, or cornstarch. Give that a good mix through with all that ginger and garlic. Make sure that corn flour gets rubbed into all the pieces of meat. Now I'm going to cook this the classic street food way, where I blanch the meat in hot oil, basically deep frying. If you don't want to use so much oil, you can just sear it on a really high heat in a frying pan or wok. Now you want to see that each piece of meat has a slight sort of creaminess around it from that cornstarch. Once it has, then let that sit as long as you can. You could just cook it straight away like I'm going to do, or leave it overnight covered in the fridge. Now the first thing I'm going to do is fry the potatoes, and I'm frying these on a medium heat to start because I want to double fry them, get them really crispy but make sure that they're cooked through. Just let them bubble away, and this fry will probably take at least 6-7 minutes to pretty much cook them 60% through. So after the initial fry, on a sort of low to medium heat to cook them through, just let them sit for 2-3 minutes before you then fry them again. Meanwhile, I'm just going to make up a quick sauce, or the base of sauce, and this here is a black pepper sauce. It's basically black pepper and oyster sauce. If you can't find it, you can just use lots of black pepper and about 1.5 tablespoons of oyster sauce. Light soy sauce, about 1 tablespoon, and then more black pepper. It's a black pepper beef after all. I want it to be really nice and peppery, this. And that black pepper will work and interact with the chilies really well. I've also got some chicken stock just to help sort of this sauce wrap around the beef last minute. About 1/2 teaspoon of sugar just to balance out the flavour. Right, for the second fry of your potatoes, I want the oil still to be nice and clean, so I'm not going to fry the beef until afterwards. You want it on a really high heat. I'm going to dunk it in for about 30 seconds to a minute max. Carefully lay the potatoes back in again to crisp up well. Straight out with your extra crisp potatoes, and then whilst that's still on a high heat, we're going to go piece by piece with your beef, just separating them out as they go in. You don't want them to stick together. Just give them a little shimmy for any of the sort of groups of that ribeye to separate out nicely. And with this spider here, it's quite useful because I can kind of place it nearby in a heat-proof bowl, and once my beef has a good bit of colour around the outside, so you don't want to overcook it, so I can take and do this very, very carefully. This is street side cooking. I can pour this straight over like so. And then my wok, you see, is coated with that frying oil, so shouldn't need too much more to finish off this dish. From here, we want to load up heat and finish off the stir fry. And my onions, spring onion and chili, or my mixed chilies, can all go in on that smoking hot temperature. That sizzle is really important. You want those chilies to kind of blister as they're hitting the wok. My beef, in a second, will come back in along with the potatoes. Beef in, extra crisp potatoes. Great colour from that second fry. The black pepper sauce. Make sure you get all of that flavour into the wok. And a quick flick through. Woo, look at the colour on that. And that sound is fantastic. And then a little bit of chicken stock, not too much. I want this sort of to be a dryish stir fry, not too wet. And that'll just coat around the potatoes last minute. So the potatoes don't come out crispy, they just kind of hold their sweetness in. Coriander at the end. One last flick. And that's done. You can see that once you finish sort of wrapping that sauce around the meat and the potatoes, you get this lovely sort of caramelization around it all. That's a sign of a good stir fry. The lovely thing about this dish is if you stir fry it right on that high heat, everything gets, all the flavour from the chili gets sort of intertwined with the meat and the potatoes. And it's not actually that strong. Perfect. Some rice and some veg. One of my favourite dishes from Hong Kong. If you like this dish, you want to learn more, not just from Hong Kong, but all types of Asian cuisine, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ding, hit that notification bell, and we'll see you for more spice. Whew.